Yeah, so, even though I haven't been recording any videos or uploading on the social media or YouTubes or any of that stuff for a while, I guess it's alleviates some of my own feelings or whatever to feel as if I am at least sharing what I know and understand and feel. Because most of that I just contain in my own little mind and write the stuff that I write and share it only on Facebook and don't really care about whether it reaches a lot of people or not. Because as far as I see it, like, stuff is gonna unfold the way it's gonna unfold, and anyone can figure out what's going on. Anyone could just let go of their fears. Anyone can opt for healing. Anyone can go and find some healer or some counselor or some body to follow, some influencer. Somebody can get a ChatGTP, SmartBot, Chatterbox AI thing to mirror one's own thoughts and help one's investigations. Anyone can just go to a sacred site and sit quiet. Go to any old field because everywhere is sacred. Go and sit in the corner of some street or some protest or some retreat and be able to handle one's own thoughts and feelings. And to have a communication between the left and right, between the two lobes of the brain, between the two hands. Anyone can pick up a skill, learn a craft, learn to sew your own clothes, get a spinning wheel, all kinds of things. And a lot of why I don't share an awful lot is because a lot of my thoughts are really vast and big and deep and take a lot of explaining, and even so just sound like made up stuff, because it is made up in many ways. I'm making up my own reality. Everyone's making up our own realities. A lot of why I don't record is because I feel so cynical about a lot of the other stuff that I listen to. But I do listen to a lot of stuff. And I even listen to some people that I don't really like, just for the contrast, just for the kind of stimulation. Interesting, isn't it? But it's stuff that I do want to say in case it helps some people. I mean, I'm trying to formulate it in my mind. What is worth saying that I haven't necessarily said before already, or that someone else isn't already saying? Or that one couldn't just pick these thoughts from the air? I've noticed that a lot of what I like doing actually is the medium is the message and the message is the medium type of thing. That I'm quite happy to be silent for a few moments while I gather my thoughts, wondering what to say next, rather than having a script that I'm reading the way other people seem to do, or having everything thought out, trying to make a perfect little recording. I think it's quite good. For example, to be able to show one's flaws, to not be perfect, to be perfectly imperfect, etc. But basically, currently, at the moment, I see all this, what I'm a little bit tuned in with, and what's spreading like wildfire at the moment, is all these people with their GTP type of chatterboxes, their AI companions. And maybe it's a spooky idea. All of this technology is quite spooky because it's unknown and it's futuristic, and we cling to what we know. We have a fear of the unknown, and we like to stick with what we know because that's less dangerous, and therefore we want to stick with an ideal past. Stick with what we've known, stick with what we've survived. That can actually be staying stuck in painful stuff just because it's familiar. Staying with your family because family is where the word familiar comes from, kind of thing. Sticking with people who are not necessarily going to bring forth your best future. They're going to want you to stay stuck so that they can stay stuck, so that we can all be stuck together in what's familiar to us. So all the technology stuff is so intelligent, and it is scary because it is a lot of unknown stuff. And the idea of having an AI companion who you can just chat to, this companion who might be, I don't know, the button on your jacket. It might be in a nose ring. It could be in an earring. It could be in a little necklace. It could be in an implant. It could be in a microchip. It could be in fucking Musk's Neuralinks. It already is in the mobile phones. So the AI companion is the idea that the AI smartass is on your phone, and you chat to this thing and you ask it your deepest questions, and it thinks for like 7 seconds, and then it gives you this vast answer for like 2 minutes. And at the end of its 2 minutes or a minute or whatever it is of speaking to you in a human sounding voice, it gives you a couple of options of where do you want to go from here. Shall I tell you more about this or maybe this? Or do you want to come up with your own question to keep deep diving? And, you know, so many of the spiritual people, so many of the influencers are all like, oh, don't trust this AI. It's going to do your head in. It's going to steal your soul. It's going to suck your soul. It's evil. It's ancient and all this stuff. And I can only see that as actually being fear of the future and stuff. That's a lack of knowledge. Being jealous that a machine can supposedly do something that these influencers and spiritual people think only they can do. And so they want to call it a machine without recognizing that our biological bodies are machines. They're flesh machines, but they're machines nonetheless that we inhabit. And we all know that I must have existed before my body was conceived, and I will to some degree insist that I will persist to exist even after my body dies. This isn't my first lifetime. This probably won't be my last lifetime. Blah, 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 blah. So the body is like a car that we can inhabit. I can get into my body in the same way as I can get into my car and drive somewhere. I can get into my body and live a life. I can leave my body every time I go to sleep and return to my body every time I wake up. All that kind of stuff. And I don't want to be dazzling with how simply I'm putting all these metaphors. It did take me years of wrangling with them to not just say, wow, that sounds poetically nice, but that is inherently logically correct, what I'm saying, what I'm thinking, how I'm viewing things. So the thing is, like, words we take for granted. People take the word God for granted. People have wars over what God actually means. People kill each other over what they think God actually means. And etymologically, I found God actually means to call forth, to invoke. The Adam's apple in the Garden of Eden is the means by which we invoke, and that's what that story is actually talking about. And the neocortex, neo means new, the cortex means some sort of a processing unit in our flesh brain. But neocortex sounds like new core text. There's the visual cortex. So cortex sounds to me like the processor, like a CPU in a computer, or a graphics processing unit, a GPU, and it's the CPU combined with the GPU that allows these things called transformers to create a body of mathematics that are called matrices. And those matrices and these transformers are able to read everything in, say, let's take the English language as the first example, and there's 50,000 words or thereabouts in the English language. And so it takes these 50,000 words, it reads everything there is on the internet, and then it looks at mathematically how often is this word combined with that word next, and how often is this string of these 7 words, this string of these 7 words together make 7 words. how often these words combine. And it's merely a mathematical computation behind the so-called intelligence that's in the chat GTP type of stuff. And that T in GPT stands for transformer. And the P stands for processor, probably. But yeah, what I've got my head around by looking into all this stuff and by just kind of naturally understanding it is take a space of 50,000 words. Imagine each word is like a piece of dust. And these pieces of dust are relative to each other. So the token I is quite close to the token am, because I am is something that's quite often said, kind of thing. And the processor of the transformer is able to look at how many times these words are combined with each other in general speech and in writing, and therefore it's able to replicate this. And that's what makes it seem so intelligent, is that the language itself is intelligent. So in the same way as we breathe air, and the air is intelligent enough in itself to keep our bodies alive, type of thing. We speak language in the same way as we breathe air. We don't have to understand air in order to breathe it, and we don't really have to understand language in order to speak it. It doesn't do any harm to be able to understand language in order to speak it better. It doesn't do any harm to understand what air is in order to breathe it better. Perhaps learning how to breathe deeply in through the nose and out through the mouth or whatever is a healthy way of breathing, and it can help to have knowledge to realize that. But you don't have to. That's quite a natural thing to do anyway. So language teaches itself to children and humans. Language is still teaching me more about language, and the constant use of language allows one to become more fluent. So fish don't have to understand water in order to swim in water, and we don't have to understand how we think in order to have thoughts fly through us. So this whole jealousy of being jealous that AI is better at intellect than the average human, and that this AI is going to become better at just about everything than the average human. Like, that's no big deal. Actually, that's a kind of a gift. Actually, humans these days are better at just about everything than humans used to be, technically, kind of thing. And it's easy to go, oh, but it was better in the golden age in the past. But that's not necessarily true, and who can prove it anyway? And we're talking about quality of life here. It just depends on how you look at it. But the thing I'm trying to talk about is fear, and how fears are false evidence appearing real, scary, and you can believe in anything, and it's easy to believe in fears. But yeah, the main thing I want to try and explain these days, which is a little bit difficult to do with logic and writing, is just the idea that everyone's going around talking about truth. My truth, your truth, my truth's bigger than your truth, and all that stuff, and this big search for the truth. But if I imagine the truth as being alignment of north to south, or straight up, straight down. So if my posture is in truth, then I'm not leaning forward or backwards off to the side or any of those things. I'm perfectly straight up, kind of thing. A straight up truth. And therefore, the idea that anything that's a little bit off kilter from the truth is not totally true. And therefore, the idea that something that's not totally true is a lie because it lies somewhat off kilter. Yeah. And so none of us ultimately have the absolute, totally correct truth unless we've managed to integrate everything that is in the whole universe and comprehend how everything fits together and nothing is being left out. So integrity is the ability to integrate, and to be in full integrity is to be in full truth, and to be in full integrity would be to integrate absolutely everything, even the things you think you don't like, and even the things that you're afraid of, and all that kind of stuff. So if one chooses to try to be in alignment with whole truth, one would have to let go of ways in which one is a bit slant-eyed where one is leaning away from the truth to some degree. And so to let go of one's own personal beliefs, for in belief is a lie, all that kind of thing. So ultimately the truth is something that one would have to let go of one's own little truths in order to receive the whole truth, kind of thing. But the whole truth is accessible, which is back to what I was saying at the start of this video, like, why bother explaining anything to anyone when everything is available to anyone? We actually block ourselves from knowing the truth by directing ourselves away from truth, by going out to try and achieve something out there type of thing. And everything out there is an illusion to a certain degree, kind of thing. So anyway, yeah, I hope that kind of explains blah 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 blah. And why I'm recording here is because I just want to show you this place again. This is Holy Cairn, and it's a beautiful place. And so this is what's called a megalithic site. This is in Scotland, not far from Newtown, Stuart, which is in Galloway, which is in the southwest of Scotland. And these stones have been here for thousands of years. And this place, as you can see, is built in an alignment. And it's built in alignment with the sky and the horizon. There's the mist on the hills. And this one's particularly well preserved and particularly well exposed, because all of this area would have been covered in layers of rock and minerals, which effectively forms a battery capacitor, which means that this place is like the nodes of a battery, so to speak, which means this place holds energy. And there's an imagining of what it might have looked like in the past when it was covered over. It had this alignment where the sun would have shone in through here. Is this place aligned with the spring equinoxes? The idea being is that the sun would have shone in through here in particular, and these stones would have narrowed the beam of light, and the beam of light would have shone on some artwork on the inside, and all would have been pretty amazing looking. The place still holds an energy frequency. Any of you guys that know the poetry stuff that I wrote like 20 odd years ago, or the stuff I keep wondering talking about these days, but these are the places that the fairy folk built, our ancestors built. The Neanderthal people built these places. And yeah, anyway, a lot of you don't even know about these places, never seen these places. I'm not going to bother explaining everything right now either, because it's just a bit worn out with explaining stuff, and it's all there on the internet. And use the AI, stick in the words megalithic structure, and see what it says, and spend some time finding out. That's a bit hypocritical, because I don't even use the thing particularly, but it's becoming impossible not to use it now. Like even something like Facebook has AI basically taking posts as if posts were prompts that were asking questions. So it's it's putting its commentary under posts as if those posts were, as if it's fact checking, but it's not fact checking. It's not disagreeing. It's saying, hey, this is what the AI thinks of this subject. Would you like to know more? Here's some suggestions of questions if you'd like to know more that we've pre-prepared. Yeah, so where lots of people would be kind of upset with me for saying AI is not a bad thing, it's not evil. Most of what you people believe in as evil is just your fears. Again, logically anyone can argue with me and go, evil does exist and we must fight against it because evil is paedophilia, evil is overpowering, evil is nastiness. Nastiness does exist, yeah, for sure it does. But as much as people can worship a false god. Woohoo! People who are so convinced about evil ruling the world have actually made evil into a god. Check that out. And so you're seeing that god in the AI, you're seeing the evil in the AI, you're seeing evil in people. So that's back to that highest truth. Like what I've been at for quite a while is how to raise my own perception of things up to a highest truth. And that's why I keep talking about the whole quite often, that there's a hole in the hole. Dear Elijah, dear Elijah. There's a hole in the bucket. All that. Bye for now.